Yesterday, my husband, 32M, and I, 30F, attended my best friend Sarah's, 30F, baby shower. Sarah and I have been best friends since our college days. We initially became roommates, but our friendship grew stronger as we discovered our mutual love for similar music. We attended concerts together and made countless memories. By the time we reached our final year of college, we were practically inseparable, spending summers together in each other's homes whenever possible. After completing our studies, we both took different paths in our careers. While I secured a highly sought-after position at a prominent law firm, which had always been my dream, Sarah wasn't sure if she wanted a traditional 9-to-5 job, so she decided to explore social media as a form of revenue. Regardless of our vastly different schedules, we made it a priority to set aside our weekends for each other, whether it was going on a hike, trying out a new restaurant, going out for drinks, or just staying in to watch a movie. It was during one of our girls' nights out that I met Michael. He was attending his friend's bachelor party, and from the moment I set eyes on him, I knew he was the one for me. Although we often playfully argue over who fell in love first, the truth is that we both fell deeply in love that very night. Fortunately, we've been happily married for 5 years now, and our marriage has been nothing short of perfect. I often tell Sarah how grateful I am that she had invited me to the pub that night, otherwise, I would have never met my wonderful husband. While Sarah remained single for a few years after my marriage, she eventually met her current husband, Mark, and the two of them celebrated their second anniversary this year. 3 months ago, Sarah shared with me the exciting news that she was pregnant, and I was beyond ecstatic. I couldn't wait to see my best friend start this new chapter in her life and hold her little one soon. I was honored when Sarah put me in charge of organizing her baby shower because I was going to be the baby's godmother. After considering several themes, we finally decided on yellow, which was Sarah's favorite color. Throughout the planning process, I kept in close contact with the caterer to ensure that everything was in order and that the cake was delivered on time. As luck would have it, I had worked with the caterer before, at my brother's wedding, so it was a breeze working with her again. On the day of the shower, we arrived a bit early to make sure that everything was perfect. Mark met us at the door and let us know that Sarah was still getting ready. While setting up, I noticed that the cake wasn't centered on the table just like Sarah wanted, so I took care of it. Soon after, the guests started arriving, and I was thrilled to see some of our old college friends. We hadn't seen each other in years, so we took this opportunity to catch up and share important life updates. In a vibrant yellow dress that matched her baby shower's theme. She had a radiant smile as everyone around us congratulated her. As the event progressed, everyone sat down to enjoy a delicious lunch. Everything seemed to be going perfectly until Sarah called for everyone's attention. She stood up and thanked us for coming to her baby shower. Then she took a deep breath before announcing, "I'm thrilled to tell you that my husband, Mark, and I are expecting our first child. And I have someone very special to thank for that." I noticed Mark looking at Sarah with a puzzled expression, trying to understand what was happening. Then, pointing directly at my husband, Michael, she loudly says, "Everyone, I'd like to introduce the father of our baby." I almost choked on my food. The room was filled with an eerie silence, and I could sense that everyone was taken aback and unsure of how to react. My mind raced to try and make sense of what was happening. My husband, who is not one for attention and prefers to keep to himself, grasped my hand tightly under the table. I turned to look at him, and he looked puzzled as me. All eyes were fixed on us in an uncomfortable and awkward silence. I turned to Sarah, looking for an explanation. Just to give some background, my husband and I have been trying for years to conceive for a while, but we've had no luck. Despite undergoing multiple tests due to some personal medical issues, we haven't been able to get pregnant. I've shared this issue with only a few selected family members and close friends, including Sarah. Eventually, my husband and I came to accept the fact that getting pregnant might not be in the cards for us. So rather than focusing on that, we learned to be content with our life together as a couple rather than focusing on getting pregnant. Sarah publicly referring to my husband as the father of her baby was a complete lie, but I couldn't help but feel hurt by her words. My eyes welled up with tears, but I tried my best not to break down in front of others. All of a sudden, Sarah burst out laughing and playfully nudged her husband, Mark, exclaiming, "I was just kidding, guys. This is all just a prank for my Instagram. I have put up cameras everywhere to capture all of your reactions." As everyone looked around perplexed, I couldn't help but feel irritated with Sarah for taking us on such an emotional roller coaster. I couldn't believe that my best friend thought pointing out my husband as the father of her baby in front of everyone was funny, knowing full well that we were struggling to conceive. I turned to look at my husband and saw that he was red in the face, still holding onto my hands. I could tell how embarrassed he was at that moment. Although a few guests let out a nervous laugh or two, there was a general sense of discomfort in the room. I noticed that Mark, Sarah's husband, didn't join in the laughter. He looked more irritated than amused and looked at my husband apologetically. Over the years, Mark and my husband had become good friends, and I think he felt bad for us at that moment. I didn't want to confront Sarah then and ruin her baby shower. As she continued with the baby shower festivities, I tried hard but couldn't shake the unease that had settled in. After lunch, we played a few games and then finally opened all the gifts. Throughout all this, Sarah was the only one who seemed to be enjoying chatting with other guests and clicking pictures for her social media. My husband had already expressed to me privately that he wanted to leave after the disastrous lunch, but I begged him to stay. I didn't want the guests to notice us walking out suddenly, and I assured him that I would be talking to Sarah regarding this. I guess Mark, too, was uncomfortable to go through with the party any longer because he suddenly stood up with a stern face. He asked Sarah if they could step outside for a moment, and I knew that something was about to happen. We could all see and hear them clearly as they talked, and it was clear that the mood around the room had turned uncomfortable after Sarah's prank. I watched as their conversation grew more heated, with Mark's gestures becoming more animated by the minute. Suddenly, Mark's voice rose, and his words carried across the room. "I can't believe you would do something like this. They are our closest friends and it's not just a harmless prank. You also made a mockery of our baby shower and humiliated me in front of everyone." Sarah kept repeating how she thought it was just a harmless joke, but Mark wasn't having any of it. Mark reiterated telling Sarah to grow up and not make insensitive jokes, especially when they were celebrating the arrival of their child. The room had grown uncomfortably silent now, and all of us could hear their words clearly. My husband couldn't take it any longer, so he got up and left, telling me he would be waiting for me in the car. Although my heart ached for my friend, I also knew how hurt my husband was, and I couldn't blame him for leaving. Seeing my husband leave, Mark must have understood how hurt he was. He turned to Sarah and said, "I'm done. I'm done with your immaturity. We're done. I will love this child, but I can't be with you for 1 second longer." Upon hearing this, Sarah burst into tears, and Mark left the party. We were looking at each other in disbelief and didn't know how to react. Although my heart ached for my best friend, I knew my husband needed me more at that moment. I didn't want to confront Sarah after her difficult conversation with her husband, so I, too, left the baby shower without saying goodbye. When I reached home, I saw how upset my husband was, and we both couldn't believe what came over Sarah to play this prank on us. In the evening, Mark sent us an apology text saying that he had no idea that she would play this prank for a video and that he was sorry for what we went through. We were glad he reached out because we didn't want to have any animosity towards him and completely understood his point of view. Unfortunately, today, I woke up to several messages from Sarah. She explained that she played the prank due to stress from her pregnancy and just wanted to create a viral reel for her Instagram. She said that she didn't understand why we were upset about it and also inquired why I left without saying goodbye. She asked me to meet her today so I could drive her to her gynecologist appointment. Starting to feel frustrated again, I let her know that I didn't find her prank amusing at all. I explained to her that what she did was disrespectful and made both my husband and me uncomfortable. I also told her that I needed some time away from her and wouldn't be able to take her to her appointment that day. Sarah responded by calling me a shitty friend for leaving her during such a vulnerable time. This message really upset me, as I couldn't believe she would say something like that just because I needed some space. When I shared Sarah's messages with my husband, he was just as angry as I was. He suggested that we shouldn't engage with her until she understands the severity of her actions. I decided to send her a final message, letting her know that I wouldn't be speaking to her until she apologized to both me and my husband for what she did. I also made it clear to her that if she dared to upload the prank video, I would take legal action against her. Rather than apologizing, Sarah responded by saying that she didn't believe she had done anything wrong. She even went as far as to suggest that I was jealous of her because of her pregnancy. When I read her reply, I just couldn't believe my eyes that this woman who had been my best friend for more than a decade would believe that I was jealous of her when I had gone above and beyond to give her the perfect baby shower. Sarah shared with me that she won't be uploading, but I should put my feelings aside and support her through this challenging period. She claimed that her husband had not come home the previous night, and she needed me now more than ever. As I am a non-confrontational person, I found myself in tears reading her insensitive messages. Realizing that I couldn't continue with this conversation, I made the tough decision to block her without any further response. So Ida for not being there for my pregnant best friend because of the prank she played on us and feeling glad that her husband dumped her? Update 1. It has been a week since my last update, and a lot has occurred since then. I would first like to emphasize to everyone that Sarah is not someone who jokes around, so for her to play this prank was a complete surprise to me. I have known her since our 20s, and she has never been the one to pull a prank on anyone. Anyway, Mark was serious when he said he was leaving Sarah. My husband spoke with him over the weekend and learned that Mark is actively seeking a divorce lawyer. Since that day, Sarah has been relentlessly calling and texting him, demanding that he come back to her and get over his feelings. However, Mark has not responded to her attempts at contact. She even went a step further and accused him of sleeping with me, which came out of nowhere. He is just sad that their marriage is ending because she is slowly turning into someone he doesn't recognize anymore. Since I've blocked Sarah, she hasn't been able to contact me, so she sent a lengthy message to my husband instead. She accused him of trying to ruin our friendship and wrote that he isn't much of a man because he can't get me pregnant. When my husband showed me the message after returning from work yesterday, I was absolutely furious. Until now, I had been trying to let things slide because I assumed the sudden change in her behavior could be due to pregnancy hormones, but her nasty words to my husband were completely unacceptable. Hence I decided to teach her a lesson. As I was in charge of the baby shower, this also meant that I was in charge of the baby registry. I had spent countless hours with Sarah discussing her needs and coming up with a list of essential items that she would require for the new baby. However, Sarah demanded that we include outrageously expensive items on the list, which not all the guests could afford. During the baby shower, I noticed that while some people stuck to the list, others gifted her with items that were not included but would be useful for a new mother. Sarah seemed unhappy, and I had planned to gift her a few of those expensive items from her list. However, once she crossed a line by targeting my husband, I canceled the order immediately and deleted the baby registry to ensure she would not have access to it. If she wanted one now, she would have to create one from scratch. Additionally, I received a message from the caterer a few days ago regarding the baby shower, but I was too preoccupied with dealing with the situation with Sarah and was unable to respond. The thing is, as a surprise gift to Sarah, I had already paid for half of the booking fees for the catering service and had planned to pay the final amount after the baby shower. However, these recent events had caused me to become distracted, and I had forgotten about it. I called the caterer and explained the situation with Sarah. I let her know that I wouldn't be paying the rest of the amount after what had happened at the baby shower. The caterer was more than understanding and informed me that since Sarah had booked the catering service under her name and they had been in contact leading up to the baby shower, she would be sending the final bill to Sarah instead of me. I was relieved that I wouldn't have to spend any more money on someone who had insulted us publicly and continued to hurt us with her rude text messages. I also let my husband know what happened, and he found it amusing. Although I've considered reaching out to her in the past few days, but after she sent that message to my husband, I've decided that I've moved past the point of forgiveness. I'm grateful for everyone who supported me and helped me realize how toxic her behavior was. Looking back, I can recall several instances where she put me down, but I never thought much of it until now. Anyway, I'm going to stay positive and move on from this experience. I don't want to waste any more of my time or energy on her. Update 2. This woman is shameless. Days after I had a word with the caterer, I received an email from Sarah. As soon as I saw her name pop up in my inbox, I knew she was back with her bullcrap. In the email, she accused me of being cheap for not paying for the entire catering service even though I could afford to do so. She told me that I have always been a stuck-up just because I was born into my family's money and that she was glad I could never be pregnant. She continued to tell me how, all these years, she had just used me to make her life easier. She then proceeded to call me ugly several times and insinuated that I was undeserving of my husband. She said that my husband had married me for my money because I was too ugly to be married to him. She called me a bitch for driving a wedge between her and her husband. Throughout the email, she used explosive profanities and basically just called me every bad word under the sun. I showed the mail to my husband, who immediately lost it. Over the years, we both have gone above and beyond to help this woman on several occasions. We have been there for her when she was single and crying over her multiple breakups. We have taken her on vacations with us wherever we went and even paid for her flight and room on several occasions. My husband had helped out Sarah's parents in repairing their house and had lent them some money a while ago. We had always treated her like our family. My husband immediately reached out to Mark and invited him for dinner so we could discuss this situation. When Mark arrived, we showed him the email, and the look on his face was beyond disgust. He also showed us text messages he had received from her where she had sent him similar profanities and went on to accuse him of cheating on her. We were greatly disturbed by the seriousness of the allegation, considering that it was not something to be casually thrown around or expressed in anger towards one's spouse. It was hard to believe that my former best friend, whom I had only recently broken ties with, had changed so much. Mark informed us that he was in contact with a reputed divorce lawyer. According to the advice of his lawyer, he never replied to her texts, no matter how deranged or vile they were, and just kept screenshots of everything she was sending him. He also took a photo of the email she had sent me so he could show it to his divorce lawyer. Now, since I posted the initial story, have received a few DMs from people saying that they are worried for Sarah and are assuming that she might have some neurological issues because of the sudden changes in her behavior. I would just like to tell these people that she has always had a temper issue, even when we were in college. Although I have never been on the receiving end of her anger, I have seen her lose her temper quickly and use profanities on other people, even in public spaces. Although I highly doubt it's a medical issue, my husband and I will still try to reach out to her parents regarding this. We plan on telling them everything as well as showing them all the messages and emails she has sent us. If they feel that there is something wrong with her after that, then it's completely up to them to take her for a test. Despite everything, I have no intention of unblocking her or responding to her email. I have gone above and beyond for this woman, and for her to persist in mistreating me, demeaning me, and showing me disrespect is beyond disheartening. I plan on putting this whole incident behind me and enjoying my life with my husband and our dogs. The past few months have been a whirlwind of emotions, to say the least. I trust that everyone is enjoying a wonderful start to the new year, just as my husband and I are. We are currently in the Maldives, taking a much-needed break from our demanding careers. Given the year we've had, we decided to disconnect from work and indulge in some relaxation time. So far, we've spent our days lounging on beaches and savoring refreshing cocktails at the resort. Coming on to the much needed update that several of you have asked for, as expected, Mark and Sarah have officially divorced. The court case was contentious, with Mark's lawyer presenting evidence and their previously agreed prenuptial agreement. Despite Sarah's efforts with her lawyer, they were unable to win the case. However, both parties have been ordered to create plans to co-parent together in the best interest of the child's well-being. After we reached out to her parents about her erratic behavior, we have since learned that Sarah had to move back to her parents' house. Apparently, due to her pregnancy and lack of proper work experience, she was unable to support herself for long just through social media. As a result, she had to move back in with her parents. I also learned from our mutual friends that after the disastrous baby shower, everyone quickly dropped her from their circle as they didn't want to be involved in her drama. Since filing for divorce, Mark held off visiting her until she was taken to the delivery room, where he remained throughout the night to witness the arrival of their daughter. He has been content caring for the baby, spending time with her whenever possible, and paying for the child's support according to their agreement. He still gets together with my husband every weekend, either to play golf or enjoy drinks in the evening. Regarding the baby shower caterer, Sarah had no other option but to compensate the bill after the caterer threatened legal action. I have received a few subsequent emails from Sarah, where she still holds me responsible for the way her life has turned out. Despite her parents taking her for numerous medical tests, she is perfectly healthy, and therefore, her immature actions have no excuses. Hopefully, for the sake of her daughter, she will try to change herself and become a better person in the future. As for me and my husband, we didn't let this incident affect our happy and healthy marriage. We moved past it after a month and focused on our personal and professional lives. We still make sure to go out on our Sunday dates, just like we did when we first started dating. Whenever I look at my husband, I still feel the same excitement and appreciation that I did when we first got together. I am grateful to be spending my life with him. I want to extend my empathy to all the couples who have expressed their difficulties in bearing children. I want you to know that it's perfectly fine. Life has its own ways, and we have to trust the journey. If you truly love your partner, there are other options available to become parents. However, my husband and I feel fulfilled with each other's company, and we have decided to focus on spending the rest of our lives in happiness together.